Okay, the first one here is Shen. Shen, did you want to like grab a bite, or you're good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's give it up for Shen, everyone.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane. So, quick introduction about myself. I'm a senior product designer or UX designer at a fintech startup called Kickoff. I've been with Amazon for close to 5 years. I'm a big car person. I love to do multiple design stuff, motion design or sometimes front end, user research, etc. So next slide, please. So in the past, like 5-6 years of my design career, I've done a lot of design stuff, across from mobile to web, and that's a lot of motion stuff as well. I'm also a go-kart fan, so if you ever visit Seattle, I'm the person to go to have some crazy drive. Thank you.
If you beat him in a go-kart drive, he gives you a job. I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. But it's a plus point though.
Okay, next up we have Hannah. Shen, you can take a seat at the front. Yeah. Okay.
Hello everyone, I'm Hannah. Really nice to meet you all today. So I'm currently a UX designer at Epic Games 419. Please raise your hands if any of you played Fortnite before. Okay.
I'm surprised there's a few people. I thought they might be too old for it.
Okay. And for me, can you go back to last slide? Yeah. So for me, I'm a person really believing in the gaming life philosophy. So to me, I really believe that everyone's life is not a battle royale game, which means it's not only win or lose for each of your life stage. You can try to consider about like your life is actually a mobile game, and you are only trying to building up your level up. So no matter you win or lose, you are always leveling up. And I actually came from the background in STEM as well. And I'm gonna introduce my career path really quick. So at the beginning, I actually had experience working at a lot of gamified designs for Xbox and Repo. And then I actually helped with a fintech startup, raise up over 3 million in fundings, kind of taking the role of their design lead. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then so far, almost spent my 3 years at 419. I actually helped lead ship 3 chapters over 10 seasons, now almost like 11 seasons of UX products at 419. We reached millions, and I designed the multi-products, kind of the different chapters, and also facing to the multi-platforms users. And there's a lot of things to say about it that I will give a chance to next.
Okay, let's welcome Sabrina next. And then Sabrina, you can stand closer to the back or else there might be some echo. Yeah, the echo might come from the mic, yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Sabrina. I'm currently a product designer at Pinterest. There's a lot of echo.
Yeah, Sabrina, I think if you stand closer to the back here, yeah, that will be a bit better.
That's great. So a little bit about myself. I'm a designer with a creative heart. Part of it is because I have a background in visual design. So I'd love to share some of my design journey with you guys. Next slide, please. So I actually started majoring in illustration when I was back in college. So growing up, I was always an artistic kid who loves to draw. But as much as I love art and drawing, I found that it's not enough for a sustainable career. Then I switched to graphic design, where I was able to design like packaging, like posters, like motion stuff. So during my internship at Ogilvy, I was lucky to work for some of the big clients, like New York Philharmonic, and some. Then the turning point really happens in my senior year, where I choose a class called Interaction Portfolio Design, which is the only UX related design course in our art school SBA that I go to. So in that class, I designed my very first UX project, which is like this. Looking back, the UX sucks. It is about a platform connecting people with the same emotion at that moment. Although the UX sucks, that is the time that sparked my interest into UX design. I found that design can be not only about like cool visuals, but also can be something that's solving a problem and make a difference to people's life. So throughout my senior year, I kind of self-learned UX, like watching tutorials online and like finding mentors to get feedback and gradually build up my portfolio. And luckily, I received like multiple offers from like tech and finance company, including Pinterest. We are already working for 2 years for now, and where I was able to work on multiple fields like ads, e-commerce, and core consumer products like home and search, including some like training products like Gen AI, and that was like quite a venture for me. And that's it about me.
Thank you. Nita, we can have you up next.
Hi everyone, I'm Nita. I graduated from CMU earlier this year, so I was in your guys' exact spot. Earlier this year, I did my primary at HCI, and earlier this past summer, I interned at Google. It was a really fun experience. So this is what I worked on. It was called Project Starline, which is like a magic window where you can talk to people across the country. It's like a hologram. It's very trippy. And I worked on things like accessibility, and really fell in love with my work at Google, and will now be converting to full-time next year. Next slide. So this is a little bit more about what I'm doing right now in design. So I'm continuing my senior capstone work. So I did my spring project working in melanoma research, and now I'm continuing that and submitting a paper for DIS 2024. So yeah, I'm really excited for you all to be here, and you can ask me questions about being a new grad and what it's like coming out of CMU, HCI, the HCI program. And yeah, thank you so much.
All right, let's give it up for Nita. Okay, last but not least, we have the legendary Arjun himself. Nita,
Hey
grab
everyone,
us.
my name is Arjun, and I'm going to be starting at Amazon.
Yeah, this works.
I'm going to be starting at Amazon in January, so very soon, in the next 1.5 months. I graduated just June, majored in UX, and I have a double minor in graphic design and industrial design. I also have experience working for companies like Google, Deloitte, and HP throughout school. Next slide. Yeah, so in the summer 2022, I worked for Amazon. I was working within e-commerce experiences. It was really cool. I'm not obviously allowed to share that much, but it was really cool working on something that millions of people use every day, including myself. So it's when you start working on things like that, it really kind of brings things into perspective a lot. But very fun, and I'm going to be going back to the same team in January, so very excited for that. Throughout university, I won over 50 design awards. You might know some of these: the Red Dot, the Fast Company Best Studio Designers in 2023, 477 Rookies, International Design Awards, more than 20 Indigos, etc., etc., etc. Point of this is partially a flex, but also partially because I feel like I have a decent amount of insight when it comes to creating projects as a student that stand out. So if after when we network, if you have any questions related to how you can build projects that can lead you to awards like this, I would be happy to talk to you more about that. And we have one more slide, which is really also that, Leon's talked a little bit about the free resources that UXCO offers. And I've been working on spearheading some of those resources as well. So feel free to ask more questions about that, and I'm very excited to get more to the panel. It's super nice to meet you all. And yeah, let's get more into the details of these.
Awesome. Hello, Grace. Yeah, sorry to cut you out. Okay. So yeah, I think we have a wonderful panel up here. You'll learn a lot more today with them and from them with various activities and interview-related like practices we'll do in real time. But I really want to just emphasize, you'll see that with each panel, they have a really defined and unique background, right? No one's background is the same, so that's something I want all of you to also reflect on, right? Just because all of you are here, at the same event, all at CMU, that doesn't actually mean all of you will come from the same background. So UX isn't about becoming the same as everyone else, right? UX is really about leveraging what makes you unique and then taking that into the industry. So you'll hear from more senior and veteran UX designers like Sabrina, Hannah, and Shen, but you'll also get to hear from recent graduates like Arjun and Nita. And then hopefully by giving everyone's combined insight, it really helps you all develop like what UX really means for you and sort of what are those skill sets you need to develop yourself. So going to the panel questions, I can just MC it up here. The first question is, I've looked at many portfolios, but mine isn't as good. What should I do?
Yeah, so when I was beginning working on my portfolio 2 years ago, I obsessively looked at my friends' portfolios who were a year above me, just like stalked their portfolios and was like comparing myself to theirs and thinking like, oh, their visual design on the portfolio is so much better than mine. And I got kind of lost in that. But what really helped me is focusing on my hero case study and making sure I spent a lot of time building that and making sure the design process was really well done. And I think focusing on that and making sure I was really proud of that case study really helped my portfolio because the hero case study, the one that's on top is the one that recruiters are going to scan through. And really focusing on that and just 2 case studies, having those really well done, and then that's what's going to help your portfolio the most. So it's really easy to compare yourself with other people's portfolios, but if you focus on your top 2 case studies that have both like research and design and has like a full end-to-end design process, that's what's really going to benefit you.
I mean, it's really lucky for you to find some good portfolio online. Then you can start a competitive analysis of this portfolio and maybe take all the good stuff to incorporate into your own portfolio. That's what I did when I self-learned UX. And I think another thing is, as Nita mentioned, everyone has a unique background. So you just need to find yours and emphasize on your strengths. Like for example, if you're from a motion background, you may thinking about like incorporate some delightful animations, like prototypes into your portfolio to make your portfolio stand out. Or if you're from a CS or like engineering background, you may include more like logical or strategic thinking projects. So it's all about really finding your unique voice, and that can really help you to shine and stand out from the crowd.
This is less about what you should do on your portfolio and more of a mindset thing, but as a student, it can be really intimidating to put your work out there for review. And even if you haven't finished your portfolio, I think it's really important and really helpful to get feedback constantly as much as you can. Even if you haven't, finished a portfolio, right? If you're going to wait till you have that perfect portfolio, you're never going to get feedback because we're all perfectionists. We're all going to want to show the best version of, and that just really hinders your process. And I think the biggest thing that I've gained throughout just the years is to learn to let go of that and to be less insecure about perhaps something that's not as finished versus getting somebody's opinion on it. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there and keep seeking that feedback for the portfolio as you make it.
Okay, next question. Great answer from the panels. How essential are internships on my resume when looking at UX roles? I think Shane wanted to answer this one.
So, internship experience actually is a quite important part on your resume. The most important thing is it kind of gets you ready when you take that full-time position. Then we're looking at specific characteristics, so that your collaboration with product managers, engineers, and some product thinkings. I know everyone learned a lot about UX But when you actually step into the real world, it's quite different. You have to look at different aspects. So those are some of the skill sets or characteristics we're looking at from a resume. And sometimes the internship can demonstrate that. So try your best to put your internship experience on your resume. It's definitely gonna become like a standout point or something essential we're looking at when there's like thousands of applicants.
Yeah, and I wanted to add a little bit more onto this one. I think, one question we got a lot before the event was like, why are internships is competitive, right? Like we mentioned, like internally we see a lot of data, like for example, Sheng, when he was still at Amazon as an interviewer, he mentioned like every year for interns, like Arjun, you probably remember for your cohort of interns, there's usually only about 100 interns per year. But the applicants, like, not to scare anyone, is like the pool is over 10,000, right? So the reason why internships have become so competitive is because like it actually has a trickle-down effect. It's so important for your next role, your new grad role, your associate role, your like mid-level role. It like kind of levels up, and eventually after a while it doesn't matter as much because if you're still in the industry, you have other experiences built up, right? But if you're going to like industry for the first time, I would say the internship itself is almost the most important part of your resume, especially if you have no other work experience. Like obviously, if you're doing a master's program, you already have some work experience in the past, you don't need like an internship. But if like you're an undergrad and you're coming into the industry, the internship will be the most important thing to show on your resume. Okay, next one. How essential is coding proficiency for a successful career in New York City? I think Hannah wanted to do this one.
Yeah, I can go first. So for this question, I would say the quick answer is not super essential, but you can consider it's absolutely additional strength for yourself because it also depends on the industry and the teams, the products that you are working on. For example, like for me, when I'm working at Fortnite teams, I'm more like focusing on the game itself, even though it's UX, we are more caring about like the presentation of the user flow. For example, like the matchmaking progress, the battle pass experience, and how you gonna kind of like leveling up yourself and how you gonna use the item shop, how to do a lot of different things in the game. But for the gaming side, if you are kind of working at like Unreal Engine team, then probably the coding background gonna really help you stand out. So it's also gonna apply to the different companies and roles. For most of the UX roles, if it's not come with saying like it's UX engineer title, then the coding is not a hard required.
Okay.
Speak for that a little bit. So I actually took creative computing when I was back in college, but honestly, I took like HTML and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but honestly, none of that skill got used at work. I think it really depends on, like Hannah mentioned, really depends on the company, the team, and the project you are working on. I think for medium to large size company, there will be specific engineers who obviously responsible for all the implementation. The only chance you got to use coding is like if you want to know the context of how the products was being built, or if you just want to communicate more efficiently with engineers. But I would say it's totally optional. But for smaller startups or certain innovative team, maybe in a bigger company, like Google Creative Lab or the 220 team at Pinterest, there are cases like when you need to know how to code or at least know how to read code in order to like advise on a product or like change some code to like really get hands-on since the team is really small and just collaborate with engineer more closely. But in that case, your title is no longer UX designer, it's more like the UX engineer, as Hannah mentioned, or like creative technologist. So if that's the position, that's like the role you want to apply for, definitely need to know how to code. But for UX designer, it's totally optional.
Something I'm curious from the crowd today is how many of you here have like completed like your first UX resume? Like raise your hand really quickly if you have like a UX resume ready. Okay. I feel like it should be more than that. Like in between, yes, somewhat. No? Okay, so who here on your resume has put like in the skill set, like, you know, like CSS, JavaScript, like could you really show like a hand? Okay. So I'm curious, out of everyone, like keep your hand kind of risen. Yeah, so if you put that, how many of you actually feel comfortable like actually doing it? Like for example, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, so I want to basically have everyone see the people that kept their hand risen, they kept it the entire time, right? But something that's really important is if you're actually just applying a job, based off of what Hannah and Sabrina shared, it's okay to write things like, you know, like your knowledge, or, you know, some people call it proficiency in like CSS, JavaScript, and things like that. Even if you're not maybe as experienced or confident as that middle table over there. The middle table seems like the most coding ready. I saw almost everyone raise their hand in that. And the reason why is because for coding, usually if you understand enough, like you explain what it is, then that's fine. Like that's usually what you need, right? So if you have no idea what CSS is, you can use ChatGPT, or you can just like Google what it means right now. Does anyone want to try explaining in like one sentence what CSS is to like people here? Yeah, you can just shout it out. Yes, so basically, like if this was an actual interview, he says that, that's fine. You know, like that's a passable answer. And then if you're like, yeah, like, you know, then that's not okay, right? So as long as you get to kind of explain in your own words. So what I actually did back in my day was, you know, like this is being recorded, but just to kind of keep it between us here, like I was absolutely terrible at coding. Like every coding class I took, like I honestly failed it. So I was struggling very hard. And UW, obviously, like CMU, has a very competitive computer science program, right? So I wasn't cut for it. But nowadays, like as a design lead, like when we ever run into like problems and like tech, you know, stack and full stack developers, they talk to me and then they pull up the code, they share their screen, and it's like, you know, I have no idea what's going on, but I know enough. So when I give them feedback or I tell them what to do, it sounds like I'm very knowledgeable, right? They're like, oh, I didn't think of that. And you can, you know, there's always ways you can sort of like almost BS your way around it, right? So one thing I would do is like, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old, you know, but it's like, actually, I don't understand what's going on. So then based on what they say, I'm like, okay, so, you know, you should do this instead of that. Like, why don't you do this? And then sometimes I'm actually able to give valuable input, right? So just as you get more into the job, like right now, because I do so many different things, I actually write, you know, some code here and there with like Webflow and my own personal projects. And I will say for all of you, if you're scared about coding, I can promise you it will become much more accessible in the next year or two with AI and things like that. One of the products we're working on with UXGo, one of our collaborators at YC, we're building like an AI coding / design tool together. So it honestly sucks right now, but like, you know, they got like millions of funding, so I'm pretty sure like it will be a lot better in the future. So don't be scared about coding. And then, what was your name? Who volunteered like in the hoodie? Kyle. Did you get a tote bag already? Okay, yeah, I was gonna give you one if you didn't, but since you already have one, I'll just give you like a round of applause. So thanks for the volunteer. Okay, just to keep time, because I know we're gonna transition to lunch soon. How do the experiences gained through HCI projects transfer to the demands of corporate UX roles in terms of skills, responsibility, and scope?
Okay, so for this question, I want to really go through it quickly. So for HCI projects, especially when we are thinking about that's more related to our student projects, side projects, no matter what kind of projects that you are working on right now, the most important thing that, if I think back, the most important thing that I can reapply into my future work or my current work, which is the design thinking. Because when we are at school or we are doing side projects, we are at a very kind of like ideal situation. There's no one block us until like you find out you cannot ideation a better results for it. So there's no PM or dev or visual arts give you any pressure about your solution. So you have totally control everything that you have. So that's a really good chance for yourself to build up the skill sets, really applying the design thinking into your first side projects work or HCI projects at school. So at this moment, I believe everyone knows what the design thinking is, but I'm gonna repeat it. It's starting from emphasize, define ideation, prototyping, and then test. So all these flows, it sounds really like step in step, but in the reality, sometimes we go back and forth, sometimes we skip some of it, but the most important thing is always making sure that you have two sections get down, which is define the problem and then solve the problem. So when we are going to work, sometimes we always forgot you need to define the problem before you actually solve it. Because sometimes PM just get in, or deaf people get in, or the product owner get in, they just told you, hey, just design this, and here's the design requirement. And if you forget how to define a problem and then rapidly get some solutions around the table, once you present in that, sometimes you're gonna feel you are lack confident about like, that's the rationale, that's the best answer, because you just grabbed someone else's suggestion at the beginning. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to take this question? Okay, let's go to Arjun, and then we'll go to the last one.
Yeah, so I've seen two really concrete carryovers from project work over to the corporate side, at least in my experiences. The first one is there is a lot of value that is put on data-driven design. So using data that you gather from your users to justify design decisions is going to be key when it comes to getting into the world of UX in the industry. And this is something that should be established as a practice within your projects as well, is you want to be able to tie back your design decisions that you've made back to what users have said, back to a certain percentage of what users feel, etc., etc. Basically, gathering data from users and using it to tie it to your designs is very important and is equally as important in your projects to get hired as it is when you're trying to build credibility for your design work in the corporate world. And the second is about, again, mindset, which is when I got to my internship at Amazon, there was so much of it that was entirely self-driven. It was not like people, you're going to be thrown into a space a lot of times which is going to be ambiguous, where you don't have a direction and nobody's going to spoon feed that to you, right? A lot of this you're going to see in your own projects as well, is sometimes professors will give you a basic guideline on what to do, but they're not going to tell you do this and then that and then that, and then nobody lays out the steps for you. So establishing a self-driven kind of proactive mindset on going above and beyond in your personal projects will greatly benefit you when you get back and get out into the world of the industry, because people really value that. People really value that self-drive.
Awesome. I want to just build upon what Arjun shared a little bit. So most of you at CMU, I assume like you've learned the goal-directed HCI process, double diamond, and then most of you, I assume in your work, take a very data-driven approach like Arjun shared, right? Yes, sort of, yeah, head nod. Okay, so one just quick thing to mention on this prompt, like corporate UX role. If you are interviewing, make sure you actually research the company. Because every company will be different, right? So there will be cases, very uncommon, but there will be cases where the company does not believe in data-driven design,